New chapter and new topic. Today we're going to talk about lists. Lists are very important when you develop with Android. Today is going to be a first chapter. It's going to be an introduction. And then on the next chapter we're going to complement our knowledge. Lists are very often used, and also they are used in many different contexts. And they can solve a lot of different issues. Today we're going to create a new application. So file, new project, Android. Simple list for the project name. As usual, Android 2.1. Simple list for application name, package name, com.voxisland. And let's create a first activity. Simple list. So here it is, and you see that a new project has been added to my Project Explorer. I'm going to close what's already open, and let's go directly in the simple list.java. So here we are in this class. In the previous chapters we have seen how to create our layouts in resource layout main.xml for the first display using either the graphical tool or the XML editor. And today, for this demonstration, for this demo, we're going to create the layout directly in the Java source file. Of course, it's breaking a little bit the MVC model because usually we want to have the code in one place and the display in another place. But this will help us seeing how to create graphical objects from your Java source code. So what I'm gonna do here is change my activity by list activity. So our class will not extend activity directly, but list activity that I'm importing here, it right now. And so here it's telling me that I don't need activity anymore. So let's delete it. Now we're going to create a list, and we'll want to feed that list with some data. So I've pre-created an array. Okay, so I imagine that you don't want to see me typing that for 15 minutes, so I've pre-created this array. Here it is. So it's a string array with a bunch of first names. And let's go in our own create. And what we're going to do here, the very first thing, is creating an adapter. So what is an adapter? An adapter is a tool that will really transform, cast if you prefer, a data source into a list. So our data source here is an array of strings. So we'll need to create an array adapter, and we'll also need to provide the data type, which is string in our case. So I'm importing the array adapter class. I've got my variable adapter, and I'm here creating an array adapter. So it's a new array adapter, data type string, and I will need to provide some information to this array adapter. Actually, 3 elements. The first one is the context. So you know what a context is. We're going to use this simply, which is the list activity context. So the second element is the layout. So you can create your own layout You've seen how to do that and call it with r dot something. But to simplify here, we can use an existing layout that is provided in the Android API. So instead of using r dot something, we're using android.r.layout. And you see that there is a simple list item 1. Okay, and now let's provide the third element. And this third element is simply and of course the data source. Okay, so here first names. That's perfect. We can now just sum up what we've done. We have created a string array. We've created an adapter. We have instantiated, and now we just need to tie up our adapter with our class. That's what I've just done. Set list adapter, and I'm providing the adapter. No problems, no problem. Let's now save and let's run. So let's see what it's doing. And we are in our simple list application, and indeed we have a list with all the names. So I'm using my mouse wheel, and I can simulate the use of my finger with clicking with my mouse, and I can also click on names. Nothing is really happening. That's for now. So now let's create a new listener that will say hello Abigail when I click on Abigail. That will say hello Alexander when I click on Alexander, and so on. So let's go back in the code. The first thing I'm gonna do is move this line just here, so that it's gonna become a global variable. And I'm gonna create a new global variable that's gonna be a private variable. It's gonna be a string, and I will name it item selected. That's really for future use. We're not going to use that in this chapter. Another private variable, which is going to be final, this one, and that's going to be the context. And you will see why I'm doing that. I just initialize it with this. Now let's check the code, and not that good, because I've got a string array. But a string array is not something that you can easily manipulate. I mean, removing an item or dynamically adding an item. If I had an array list, it would be much easier. So I'm going to transform this array into an array list. So let's do that right here. So this is an array list, data type string. Let's call it my list, and it's a new array list, data type string. And for the parameters, I need to provide an array list. So how to transform an array into an array list? I'm going to use a method of the arrays class, and it's going to be arrays.asList, and so I need to provide an array, of course, and here it's first names. Perfect. I've just saved. I've also imported the missing import, And here in my adapter, instead of providing an array, I'm gonna provide an array list. So I'm gonna provide my list. Let's save that I didn't break anything. I'm saving, I'm running. Here, everything seems okay. So I still have my list. It's still doing nothing when I click on a name. Okay, let's code that right now. So, as you can imagine, I will have to create a new listener. And this listener will be on item click listener. And I will name it item listener. It's a new on item click listener. Oops. Let's import the class. So here is the unimplemented method, only one. It's on item click with 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. The first parameter, which is arg0 here, is actually the list itself. So let's rename it parent. It's gonna be easier. Let's check arg2 as well. And this will be the position of the item that has been clicked. So let's name it position. So I know which list has been clicked, and I know which item has been clicked by its position. So I'm going to create a toast message. It's toast.makeText. For the context, let's just use getApplication. For the text now, hello, and let's add the first name. So how to get this first name? Well, it's easy. We have the list and we have the position. So the list is parent. So parent dot, let's see what we have here. Get item ID at position. Perfect. So I'm providing the position. Now let's see. I've just added a string to another string. Well, not really, because I made a mistake. I've just added a string with an item. So let's convert this item to a string. For duration, let's do toast length short. That's gonna be fine. Let's make our code prettier and easier to read. Perfect. So there's an error here, just because I didn't use get item at position. I used get item ID at position, which is a number. So I really need here get item at position. So no more error. The listener is created. Now let's attach it to the view. Okay, at the very last. Okay, my view now. Remember that we are not in an activity class, but in a list activity class. So my view is going to be get list view. Okay, let's use set on click listener and my listener that I named item listener. Okay, let's see what's here. Another mistake. It's not set on click listener, it's set on item click listener, which is making more sense on a list item. I'm saving, and now let's see what it's doing. Installed, successful, launched. Here it is. So let me click on those items and nothing's happening. It's a mistake I'm making very often. Here, see, I've created a toast message and never asked the system to show it, which is now fixed. So method.show. So this is fixed, and I can now, of course, save it and rerun it. I will let you do that by your own so that you can see the result. Anyway, I'm going to show you the result in the next chapter. But I will give you some housework. I will suggest you recreate this application from scratch. You will make mistakes like I did, but you're gonna fix it. So maybe you are wondering why I've created an item selected in the context. But once again, that's something we're gonna see and use in the next chapter.